Once you've downloaded the form, you'll know you have the correct form for methods when you see the words Madonna University EDU 45XX evaluation form at the top. The first page of this form provides an overview to the cooperating teacher about the expectations and requirements of the teacher candidate in this experience. This is a great conversation starter for the cooperating teacher and the Madonna University intern or candidate to be able to talk about what types of experiences they need to have in order to successfully complete this experience. You'll see that we have carefully outlined 12 objectives for the teacher candidate to at least have experiences in demonstrating proficiency, knowledge, and skills in areas related to the Danielson framework. Please note, at the bottom of this page you will see that we have outlined that this particular evaluation is using the Danielson 4-point scale. 4 meaning distinguished or highly effective, 3 meaning proficient or effective, 2 meaning basic or minimally effective, and 1 meaning unsatisfactory or ineffective. It is important to note that the expectations for students and the methods clinical experience, they are not required to have 4s. As a matter of fact, we expect that they will probably have mostly 2s and some 3s by the time they complete this clinical experience. We really want to make sure that they are getting sufficient feedback and areas to show that how to improve so that by the time they complete student teaching, they are scoring mostly 3s on all 22 elements. Again, I repeat, it's not the expectation that they will get many 4s in this particular experience. We really hope that the feedback that they get is useful and helpful for them to continue to grow and become proficient and eventually highly effective or distinguished educators by the time they get into the field as teachers. As we scroll down to the second page of the form, this is actually the first page that you will need to complete and hand in to the faculty member from Madonna University. This form is to be completed electronically and then emailed from the cooperating teacher to the university faculty member from Madonna University. This particular page is demographic information about the experience. So it has the intern's name, the date that evaluation is completed, the cooperating teacher who oversaw the clinical experience, the grade level of the placement, the subject area of the placement, the district and school, the semester in which the experience occurred, and the year. We'll scroll down to the third page of this document. This is the actual scoring form. This is the other page that needs to be completed in full, electronically, and sent to the Madonna University faculty member. You'll see that in the left-hand column we have the Danielson components. We expect that the 12 objectives relate to these components and provide an opportunity for the candidate to sufficiently demonstrate evidence for them to get feedback about how they are doing in these areas. You'll see that the score will go here in the middle. We request just a numerical score. A 1, which means unsatisfactory, a 2, which is basic, a 3, which means proficient, or a 4, which is distinguished. Please also note that you can rate a candidate with an NA or NO, which means that the experience did not warrant, or they were not able to demonstrate anything in these particular areas, or it was just simply not observed by the cooperating teacher, and that is fine to do that. We also require that you use a whole number scoring, meaning that if a candidate, you cannot give a candidate a 2.5 or a 3.5, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then here in the third column is the rationale. And I'll talk a little bit more about what goes into the rationale section, but generally speaking, the rationale section should be using the rubric language, which is found below, and relate to the score in which you give the candidate. So if the score is a 2, the rationale and comments should reflect language consistent of that particular component for a level 2 ranking. The final pages of this rubric, or of this form, are the scoring guide and rubric. You'll note that the scoring guide in the rubric is based on the Danielson framework for teaching. The language is directly taken from Danielson. Here is the component on the left-hand column. The first box is distinguished or highly effective, or a ranking of a 4. The next is proficient or effective, or a ranking of a 3. The next is basic or minimally effective, or a ranking of a 2. And then the next one is unsatisfactory or ineffective, which is a 1. Again, there is an option for NA, which is not applicable, or NO, which is not observed. Each of the components that you are required to provide feedback for the candidate have rubric language to help you understand which level the candidate is performing at, and to provide support for providing feedback for that candidate in the comments section. I want to reiterate that it is our expectation for candidates at this particular level in their experience that this form is to be used to provide feedback and growth opportunities to all of our candidates prior to their student teaching experience. It is not the expectation that they receive 4s, nor is it the expectation that they receive all 3s. For this particular placement, candidates should start emerging into the proficient level. However, the expectation is that they should be able to score at least at the 2 level, or basic. It is our belief that a balance of 2s and 3s in this experience will result in a successful clinical experience for the candidate, and will be graded as a success for the student. A candidate receiving a 1 or several 1s will result in having the candidate meet with the faculty member and the Dean of the College of Education to discuss whether or not the clinical experience needs to be repeated. Again, I cannot stress this enough. We recognize that the Danielson framework is rigorous and challenging. It is not expected that the candidate be performing at a level 4 at this point. However, it is possible that they may be demonstrating some elements or components within a level 4 ranking, and it is very appropriate to provide that feedback as positive to our candidates. Our goal in this process is for the candidate to get the feedback they need and utilize that feedback to be better and stronger as they move into student teaching. This form should provide that feedback and demonstrate significant overview of the elements that the candidate needs to demonstrate growth and progress in becoming a proficient practitioner, particularly by the time they are student teachers. Let's go back up to the scoring page for a second and talk a little bit about how to score. So let's look at a particular component. Setting instructional outcomes. Now let's say your candidate performs at a level 2. Now again, we're using whole number scoring, meaning that you cannot provide a 2.5. So let's say the candidate is performing at a certain level which warrants some 3 language, so they're doing some of the things in 3 for setting instructional outcomes, and they're doing some of the things as a level 2. So what we will do is you go down to the and examine what area the candidate is demonstrating the most. So we're looking for a preponderance of evidence. So let's say, for example, the candidate has most outcomes that they develop in instructional outcomes are rigorous and important in learning discipline, and it's clearly written in the form that students can learn, and they suggest viable methods for assessment. However, the outcomes that they've developed reflect several types of learning, but the teacher has made no effort at coordinating or integration in that particular components. Also, the outcomes are based on global assessment of student learning and are suitable for most of the students, but they're not differentiated. So, what would you do in that particular element? Well, I would look at the overall performance of that particular candidate and say, does the most of the evidence weigh in a level 3? And in this case, given the outcomes, to you, what have you seen them demonstrate most? Are they starting to emerge into a 3 where they're starting to learn about differentiation of assessment and they're starting to be able to apply it because they've already completed this top part here, but they're really needing more in this? I would say if that's the case, they are emerging into a 3 and you can probably give them enough. There's enough evidence to support a rating of a 3. So then you will go back up to the top to the scoring page, and you will give them a 3, and then you will provide feedback and comments. The feedback and comments should highlight why you gave them a 3. So when I read these forms, I should know clearly that without even looking at the score that was given, that it was a level 3. You can also provide feedback as to some of the components that was a level 2 ranking and say the candidate or the teacher candidate or the intern was demonstrating the ability to start to differentiate instructional outcomes or assessments, but still is in the global area. However, the rest of the components for this particular section were met, and then you will explain why they were met. This does not need to be very long. I would say probably 3 to 4 sentences of comments and rationale. Again, the whole purpose of this is to provide feedback to the candidate about why they are getting a level 3, what they need to do to improve, and what they did well that they can build on. That is really the whole purpose of this experience. Once you've completed the form for the candidate, please go through and provide a conversation, an overview of the scores to the candidate. Once that has been done, remember this needs to be completed electronically. You will save the file and send it via email to the university faculty member who's teaching the methods class for that candidate. This must be done electronically. Once the university faculty member receives this document electronically, they will then enter the scores in live text for the candidate for this particular experience. We really appreciate your willingness and effort to be a part of our clinical experience process. Thank you so much for taking the time to work with our candidates, and as candidates, thank you for taking the time to work with your cooperating teacher and developing a relationship and making this a strong experience. Without our cooperating teachers, without our relationships with our partners in the P12 field, we would not be able to have the preparation experience for our candidates that they need to be successful. We look forward to hearing your feedback, and we look forward to continuing to grow our relationship with you in the future. Should you have any questions about the content in this video or about the clinical experience itself, please do not hesitate to contact me. Again, my name is Tom Bell, and my email address is thbell@madonna.edu. Feel free to contact me anytime if you have any questions about completing this form or the evidence in the rubric or how to write or complete the preponderance of evidence requirement for the scoring process. Have a great day.